Mm-mm. You see this one here? You see this one here? Hi wonderful people and welcome back to my channel Book Chris. I'm Giselle. How are you going? What's up with the scene? So from today's video you can tell that I'm going to give you some really good PNR recommendations, okay? I love reading a good paranormal. I enjoy reading fantasy. I even enjoy sci-fi books, sci-fi stories. Once it contains romance, you know that I read that. So line up in this recommendation, let me just say that these stories are great. The details, the spice, the slow burn in some of them, the unexpected twists in some of these stories. Some of these unexpected twists in these books just like blew my mind. I was so surprised with some of them. Listen, the stories are just delectable. They are delicious. And you know how I do on my channel. You know I bring you some good books. You know I'm all about that suspense and that mystery, all wrapped up in that romance, all wrapped up in a nice relationship. And you know these relationships don't go smooth. You know how I do. You know I don't like no smooth sailing. There must be some bumps along the way. There must be hills and valleys, twists and turns, you know. And these stories did it. So if you are not following me on the social media accounts, then what are you doing? What are you waiting on? If you want to know what books that I'm so excited to talk about, if you want to know books that kept me up, then keep watching, like and subscribe. Okay, so let us get into these books. So first up, so this was a very recent read for me. Like, I wanted to read this book. I read it and I absolutely love it. Unclaimed, Lethal Legacy. Go read this book now. Go read this book now, because the story, listen, I was unprepared for this story. I was blown away by this story. I devoured this story. So listen up. So in this book, picture this, right? You have a vampire and he has his mate. It's a fated mate. Full stop. So you have that. And he's refusing to claim his mate, although he's a special breed of vampires. So he doesn't have a choice, because when that mating call is sounded, he has no choice but to meet his mate. But no, he's rejected his mate. And on top of that, his mate turns around and rejects him. She wants nothing to do with him. So in this book, we meet Luna and Luca. Luca, he's a special breed of vampires. You have Luna, she's in college, and her first encounter with Luca, it is horrible. However, when he realizes that someone is after his mate, he has no choice but to step in. And his father turns around and steps in and kind of force his hand in the meeting. Listen, this book, you have action. And you know I love a book with a good action scene. Like, I don't play with that, right? Listen to details. This author did a great job. I love this book. So you have your fated mate, you have your rejected mate, you have action. You need to read this one. This is a must read. I am playing with this one. Yo, this next book, I just love. Like, I love this series. I love each of the stories in this series. So I'm just going to talk about book one. So we have Chains of Frost by T.A. Gray. Oh my goodness, this is another one. This story. So, let me relax. Breathe. Because this story is going to have you hooked. You are going to grab book 2 and book 3 immediately. You become engrossed in the story, the adventure, the action, the romance, the spice. This book has everything in it. So this is a good Halloween story, this entire series, right? You know I don't do the horror and stuff like that, but give me something like this, a paranormal with the romance, and I will read it. In Chains of Frost, we have these three sisters. And this story is focused on the older sister, Cleo. So these sisters, they received a will, and in that will, their father basically gave them to three different men. So they each have their own protector. One gets assigned to a vampire, another one a shifter, and the younger sister a demon. But Chains of Frost, this is with the vampire story. So these sisters, they were so upset, and what they decided to do is do a spell that would protect them and keep them away from their assigned protectors. And these people, these sisters end up raising a demon, an ancient demon. Tell me why. And now this demon is following them, and they have no choice but to go to their protectors to be protected. And did I mention that you get a cold alpha who wants nothing to do with the person he's supposed to protect? And these sisters are succubus. So you have these different supernatural beings. And you know, for an alpha, you don't turn down those sorts of beings. How can you say no to a succubus? Like, they need that to survive, right? They need it. So this story, this series, this is a must read. And let me tell you, this ancient demon follows each sister. So after he realizes he can't get through with Cleo, he turns his attention to the other sister whose protector is a shifter. Okay, so let's get into the next book. You see this one here? You see this one here? Oh, look at this! Alpha. We need a minute here. Alpha by Tyrion. Guys, this genetically modified human with alien DNA. I was totally caught off guard. I wasn't expecting this. And I loved it. And it is one of my favorites. And therefore, I must recommend this book. So if you have not read Alpha by Tyrion, please read it. In this book, we meet Alpha and Morgan. Morgan, she is stuck in a loveless marriage. And then she gets kidnapped and taken to this facility where numerous tests are done with her. And then they realize that they can use her to get Alpha to conform. They can get Alpha to do what they want him to do, right? Turns out, Alpha fell in love with Morgan. And when they thought they were controlling Alpha, Alpha was controlling them. So you have this really nice story where they're being placed together for mating. And eventually it's not something that is forced. And about our life. But yeah, kind of about our life, because I like forced arranged marriages. But anyway, the mating is not forced. But they slowly develop a really nice relationship in this cold and sterile facility. And then the Mac bus. And then the twist appears. And then you're like, I wasn't expecting that. You're like, how? And then you're like, these deceitful bitches. This book, really, really good. So you get some nice sci-fi aspect in this story. You get good fight scenes, you get good details, you get good story building, you get obviously the spice. Who doesn't like reading a book about crazy scientists wanting to create a super soldier using alien DNA that they don't know nothing about? So guys, remember I was telling you that I stayed up all night reading a book? So this was the book that I was talking about. This one right here. You see that book? You see that book? That book kept me up all night. I needed to finish that book the same night that I started to read it. There was no putting it down. Because this story just had me enthralled. this story held me captivated. Like the adventure in this book, the suspense in this book. I just needed to know what happened. There's just layers and layers and unraveling. And oh gosh, the plot. The plot. In Frost, we meet Eva. Eva, she is Fae living in the human world. She was left at the doorstep of a hospital. So she grew up in the human world. And so she's 26 years. It's her birthday. She goes home to meet her boyfriend only to find him cheating with someone who they met on vacation 2 years ago. She goes to the bar and she starts to rant about who? The Fae King, or the Seelie King, Tyrion. Tyrion proposes a deal. And in this deal, she has to be part of a competition and she can get $50 million. So, yeah, she's like, yeah, let's do this. Only for things to be revealed as she enters the Fae world, as she enters the fairy world, only to discover her true heritage and what type of Fae she is. So this is a series. This is book 1. So now I have to wait for book 2. How long I have to wait for book 2? I don't know. I have no idea. I need to go and check it out. But this book, you get the fight scenes with her. As she competes in various challenges, she slowly comes within herself. She slowly starts to see her power and who she is. And she starts to realize that she has these natural abilities that she thought she didn't have. You see where I'm going with this? Now, honestly, this book reminds me of the Fae Chronicles by Amelia Hutchins. So if you read that book, if you read this book by Amelia Hutchins, this series, because you know I read the whole series, right? It's one of my favorite Fae series of all time, favorite fantasy series. So if you have read this, you're going to enjoy this. Hands down. It is definitely a slow burn. There's no intimacy in this book. Can you imagine that? The theme is there. It's definitely a slow burn. So they get to first base, second base, third base. They haven't gotten to fourth base, and I read that entire book. That's how good the story is. Like, I did not miss it. It ends on a serious cliffhanger. Guys, look at this cover. First of all, let's just start there. What does this cover tell you? 1, there's going to be action. 2, you're going to get a badass heroine. And 3, there's some supernatural shit going on here. Yes, Smoke by Keta Kendrick. This is book 2 in the Smoke and Fire series. So y'all know I read book 1. I recommended book 1. Book 1, we had a badass heroine. You know, I love badass, kick-ass, strong, alpha, female. I love them. I want them, right? I need them. And so we get this in 7. That recommendation is going to be listed in the icons. And now we get that in Smoke. Like, In Smoke, we meet Sori, aka Smoke, and we meet Michael. Now, Sori, she's part of TOP, which is a top secret operations program. And in that organization, she basically helps to bring down bad guys, but supernatural bad guys. And let me just say, this girl is a badass. Now, in the past, Sori realized that something happened to her, but she doesn't fully remember what happened to her. She doesn't remember any of the experiments that was done to her. And now in the present, she's realizing that she has additional capabilities, additional supernatural capabilities. And it's because she's on the hunt for this particular guy that finds these supernatural beings and literally absorb their life essence, absorb their life energy, like literally sucks them dry. And he holds that inside to help to make him more powerful. And so he wants Sori. He wants Smoke because he realizes how powerful that she is. But Michael, he ain't having that. Michael isn't gonna let that happen just so. He was also part of the experiments that was done. He remembers Sori and he fell in love with Sori and he hopes that Sori will remember him. In this book, you see where she's trying to figure out her damn powers. Because some of these powers or some things that she can do is totally friggin' unexplainable. And she shouldn't be able to do it. The details in this story, the layering and the foundation in this story, it's so good. It's so good. And if you have read any of Keta Kendrick's book, then you know exactly what to expect. Because her stories are always phenomenal. There's always going to be some type of twist. There is absolutely zero fluff. Because I don't like fluff. Give me the juice. Give me the action. Give me the mystery. Give me the suspense. Give me all of the good stuff. Guys, so listen, this was my first time reading a book with any type of mythology kind of thing. Because literally, I stick to like paranormal, supernatural beings. And I stick to regular fantasy. I don't dive into mythology. Any type. No, I don't do that. But I did it. And I loved it. And I'm absolutely surprised. So I need to share this book with you. You need to read this book. Because this book, there's so much mystery in this book. The book that I'm talking about is The Gatekeeper by K. Alex Walker. This book. That is what I'm talking about. So there's so much suspense in this book and mystery in this book. And I'm like, what the frick? What is going on here? It's one of those books that you just don't put down. It's one of those books that you just need to continue reading because you want to know what is going to happen. Is the good guy going to win? Is the bad guy going to win? Who's going to win? Who's going to be defeated? Is someone going to die? If they die, will they come back alive? Like, that is the questions this book right here have you thinking. So, in this book, we meet Matthew. And Matthew, he's the lord of the underworld. He protects the underworld. He can go to the underworld and return without anything happening to him. They live on this secret island, hidden away from the rest of the world. And then you have Tiya. Tiya, she's an archaeologist. Her mother was also an archaeologist. And she decides she wants to continue the work that her mother is doing, which is all good. And so she goes to one of the last places her mother went. And there she realizes something is wrong. She's being sucked into the earth. Someone saves her. Who saves her? Matthew. But because of what happened, she's literally dying. And so Matthew realizes, you know what, this could be my potential mate. Like, this is the person that I'm supposed to be with. However, there's someone in the background that is misleading them. There's someone in the background that is lying and manipulating situations, and that person wants revenge. And she doesn't care what she has to do, even if she unleashes this being in the world that could potentially kill life or end human life as we know it. This could result in different beings from the underworld coming up into the natural world, which should happen. This is it, y'all. This is excitement from the get-go. From the first page to the last page. First chapter, last chapter. Trouble, suspense, action. Guys, Garrett's Destiny. Now, I mentioned that this is on my TBR. I mentioned that I want to read this because I absolutely enjoy the Dark Protector series by Rebecca Zanetti. I love that series. Listen, when I tell you I enjoy that series so much. So I have not read every single book in this series because Garrett's book is number 15. And I read the main characters though. I wanted to read about the Care brothers. That was my thing. The side characters I didn't care too much for, but like the main brothers and all their mates and their kids, that is what I wanted. And Garrett was there from book 1 or book 2 because he was the first child born to the Care brothers. And how the story develops is the Care brothers, they are the ruling vampire family. And so they always thought that, you know what, we're vampires, we're pure. only to discover throughout the books, this is like when we get to book 8, that they're not pure vampires, that they're actually mixed with demons, which is why they can walk in the daylight, and which is why they get the special brand on the palm of their hands, and they actually mark their fated mates with the mark on their hands. But anyway, like almost like a brand. In the story, this is Garrett's book. So Garrett meets his mate, only to realize that he cannot mate with her because she has some blood in her brain which formed into a tumor, which is resulting in her body not being able to accept the mating, and this is driving him crazy. But he's also suspicious because there are a lot of things that are unexplainable. Everything that she knew about herself was basically implanted. It was all false, and so you get so much suspense in this book. I'm like, is this person going to escape? Is she going to die? Because doctors gave her 4 weeks to live. And I'm like, what is going on here? How? But their fated mate, he has to do something. Like, there's no way that she can die, right? She smells human, but she's not totally human. She's part of the key towards ending this war with some other vampires. Listen, when I tell you excitement in this book, Garrett, and I'm all about the mating life, right? Give me a fated mate any day. Give it to me. I want it. I will read it. This book I absolutely enjoyed and love from beginning to end. And the spice, just like the other books, the spice it's there. This book was unexpected. Like, I thought it was just going to be a simple office romance between a vampire and a human female. But no, it wasn't that. This book had so much suspense in it, so much mystery in it, and now I have to read the other parts in the book. So this is book 1 in the Blood Brothers series. In this book, we meet Maggie. Maggie's a recently separated woman, so she gets employment in this private investigation unit. GianMarco, he's just a whore. He's a man whore. It is what it is. But he realizes that Maggie is his mate, and he's trying to not act on it, but he realized that he's going friggin' feral, yo. So someone murdered his wife or his mate, like from how many years ago, his kid from how many years ago, and he thought the threat he thought he annihilated is still there. And the question is posed, who is behind them? You have this organization that is after these brothers, and the question is, why are they after these brothers? In this story, you get like a little MFM, you have your fated mate, you have your intense mating, but you also have your mystery surrounding these brothers. They are working secretly to bring down an organization. It's like, is it the same organization that wants to bring them down? What is going on here, Miss Vaughn? So you know what I had to do, right? I had to pick a book 2. I have to read book 2, and I have started reading book 2. Not going to tell you about book 2 now, but you totally realize that somebody is out to get these brothers. And I'll just let you know, in book 2, the mating is between one of the brothers and a witch who has been outcast by her family. If you want a quick, spicy paranormal read this one, but no, you're going to jump to book 2. Guys, thank you so much for watching this entire video. If you enjoy any of these recommendations, please let me know. If you have read any of these books, let me know, because I know these books are really good. They're really exciting stories. They're really interesting stories. If you enjoyed this video, again, give it a thumbs up. And if you are not following me on my other social media accounts, then what are you doing? If you want to know what I'm reading, most definitely follow me on TikTok and Goodreads. And if you want to know like new releases, definitely follow me on Instagram, because you're going to get that on that particular platform, and on Facebook. So look out until I post another one, and enjoy whatever book you are reading.